Good morning everyone, it's Rowan again. Today we're going to do our summer harvest of toffee apple variety. For those who've been watching my channel, this is the fourth in the series of where I was showing the differences between growing this variety in plastic pots, in grow bags or in the ground. The last three were seeing how they developed over the spring, and this time they've gone through the summer, because here in Australia we can get two growing seasons a year. And so we'll have a look and see how they did over the summer. Generally, commercial varieties of potatoes don't do very well at all in the heat. They don't tuberise at all sometimes. I breed and select to get varieties that will at least produce something over the summer. And we'll have a look. To be honest, this summer hasn't been particularly hot. We haven't had any days over 40 degrees Celsius. It's mostly between 30 and 40 degrees. But anyway, so I'll get everything ready and we'll have a look and see how they did in the heat. Right, first of all we'll empty the grow bags. These were very difficult to keep damp during the summer. Grow bags just dry out so fast. So we'll see how they did. Now I can see already that there's a lot of new sprouts here. That's from tubers that have matured and then started sprouting in the ground. In summer this is a big problem called heat sprouting, where the soil heats up and it makes the tubers start growing instead of going dormant. See, the soil, these were just watered yesterday and the soil is just as dry as a bone. You just can't keep these grow bags, wet during the heat of summer. So let's have a look and see if we got anything at all. These plants are dying down. They should have lots of tubers, but they've barely got anything except for these tiny little ones at the end of their stolons. See, this is all you get in summer when it's really hot. The plants just won't tuberise. This one here was never selected as a summer tuberiser, so basically this is what you'll get with your commercial varieties that you'll buy in the shops. But these little mini tubers are still perfectly good to keep over the winter, and they'll be ready to plant again in spring. And these mini tubers will produce full-size plants next spring. Okay, so that's that one, and we'll just pick up the second grow bag now. See if this one did any better, but I wouldn't think so. They're all grown in the same conditions, same soil, everything. 3 tubers to a pot. See, the same little mini tubers. Generally, in most years, this one will produce some good sized tubers during the summer, but obviously these grow bags are just so dry that they just couldn't. That's just one of the original mother tubers. So even though these haven't given me any tubers that are worth eating, it's given me enough to plant again after winter. If I store these correctly, even though this one doesn't have a long dormancy period, the potatoes do know what to do, and they will store in over the winter until spring. Okay, I'll just get rid of this soil and we will start on the ones in the black pots. Okay, we've emptied that soil out, so now we'll get to the ones in the pots. I expect these will do better because the pots just keep so much more moisture in. One other reason why these wouldn't have done very well is I was a bit late fertilising them. You need to give your potatoes good fertiliser before any flower buds develop. Once the flower buds develop, the plants won't do as well with the fertiliser, and you've got to give them some potassium to grow the tubers. But anyway, let's see how we go here. No, oh yep, see, we've got some bigger tubers here. It's already got some little buds starting from the heat causing them to sprout. There won't be many new tubers, but see, all it takes is a bit of extra moisture and coolness in the soil. Still, most of the tubers are little. There's another bigger one, and you can see the stress from the summer heat is causing them to develop little tubers upon the tubers. The main ones starting to sprout. But here again, now you won't get these size tubers in commercial ones in the heat of summer, but you can just see the difference of how keeping your soil moist and cooler, well, the moisture does keep the soil cooler in the summer, and these ones will produce a second crop. As I said, I've got other varieties specially chosen for producing better crops in the heat. But this is just to show you not only the difference in different types of growing containers, but also how heat over summer affects the growing of them. So you can see, even though this one will produce in the heat and produce good sized tubers if you give them good conditions, yeah, the heat causes these abnormalities, which are fine. These are still good to plant. It's only the heat causing that, not disease. So I'm quite fine with that. So that's all from 3 plants, which isn't a very big crop, but still, as I said, it's enough to produce for next spring for planting. And the next pot, plastic pot, should be about the same because it's had the same conditions. With the days shortening, that also helps to get the plants to put on a new lease of life, as they say. See, here's a good example of them producing tubers on tubers. A lot of my other varieties don't do that. This was one of the first ones I ever released, and I'm still very happy with it. Tastes great, a lot of people like it, but it was never selected for the things that I am now selecting for. Starting to get a bit, I chose a cool morning for this, to do this, because I'm really sick of the heat. As I get older, it's harder to cope with the heat. But anyway, so here are the ones that I got out of the black pots. Not a lot for 6 plants, but as I said, plenty enough for replanting in spring. These ones that are sprouting here, if I put them in dry soil now, they'll stop their sprouting and go dormant. It's still very early, so I'm not sure if they will keep long enough to go over the winter, but I'm going to put them in soil in case they don't, and I still should get another crop out of them before the frosts. Because our season started so early this year, it looks like I'll be able to get 3 crops instead of the normal 2. Now, the ones in the ground I'm not even going to bother with. They barely grew, they were late, and I'm pretty sure they have no tubers under them at all, so which is why I'm going to be planting in all my potatoes in pots from now on, as I said in my last videos. Well, since I had just harvested my toffee apple potatoes, I thought, well, I'll also harvest these other 2 that you'll remember from one of my other videos from late last year. Because they had already died down, they were ready to be harvested, so we'll see how they did over the summer. Now, you may remember the video where I pointed out a plant that I harvested that has tubers which stick out vertically from the soil. Well, that's this one here. So we're ready for our second harvest of the year. So let's get to it and we will see how it did. This is number 270. I haven't written down the name I gave it, but I'll link to the video where I harvested it somewhere in the corner here at this time. This one's nice and wet from being watered yesterday. There's not many deep tubers here, but I can already see that it has got some nice sized tubers on it. They're sprouting already like they were when I harvested this last. So let's have a look. See, the heat doesn't seem to have affected this one much at all. Not as many tubers as you would like, but considering that it produced at all in the heat, it's done okay. 3 plants again in this pot. If my recollection is correct, this is about how it produced last harvest. So they're all sort of smallish teardrop shaped tubers. A couple of longer ones. So here we are. Not great, but they're eating size. They're good enough to eat and good enough to plant. I'll take some in for eating and I will plant a few just in case I can get them harvested again before the frosts come. We've still got, what is it, late February, March, April, May. Yeah, we'll be just heading into frost when these are maturing. So I'll have tubers for replanting. Okay, I will clean this up and go and get the other pot. Righto. Now this one is bloodshot. You might remember this one from the video I did on it. It has tubers that inside have yellow and purple, or yellow and red splashes inside that look like a bloodshot eye. And it's also died down. It was harvested and grown again, planted again at the same time as the last one we just did. I don't expect this one to have good tuber set because it got quite burnt in the summer, so it suffered a bit in the heat, but let's have a look and see. Yeah, looks like any tubers it has is very small. Yeah, they even though the plants have died down, the tubers are very immature. I'll replant them straight away and hopefully get some to replant before winter hits. These are sprouting with heat stress, but there's still plenty to replant. All these little tubers will produce full-size plants. So each variety copes with the heat much differently than others, and it's just a case of getting used to how each one does. Lots of small tubers on the soil surface, some bigger ones just under the soil, but they are, as I said, there's a heat sprout. That's alright, it's not worrying me too much because now that it's not long till autumn weather starts, some of the trees are already showing some yellow leaves, so the cooler weather will definitely help with these. It does have lots of tubers, they're just small. Just a parent tuber there, the big one. There's a couple of slightly larger ones here. And that large tuber is the mother tuber. They don't tend to rot away in the summer, so you've got to be careful not to put those with your others. Okay, so I must stop that habit of saying okay for everything. Anyway, we didn't get a lot off this, but they're all little and they're all sprouting, so I'll plant them right away. And now that, as I said, the weather's going to cool down shortly, and so the plants we get from these should produce properly with a full harvest, full-size tubers. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this has been of interest to you. And next time I've got some to harvest, I will show you how they coped with the summer. Bye.